Welcome, dear listener. Tonight we open a gentle window into the past and let the cool air of the Middle Ages drift softly into our imagination. Imagine the hush of evening as it settles over a medieval town where stone houses huddle together beneath timbered roofs and narrow lanes curl like secret ribbons through the settlement. The dim glow of lanterns flickers in the windows, and somewhere far away a church bell tolls, its sound rolling out across the quiet countryside like a lullaby. This will be our resting place tonight, for here we will explore not the battles or the crowns, not the politics or the castles of kings, but something more tender, more human, something that belongs to every age and every heart. Tonight, we will wander slowly into the world of love, courtship, and dating in the Middle Ages. Close your eyes if you wish and picture the world as it was centuries ago. The pace of life was slower, guided by the rising and setting of the sun. There was no rush of engines, no buzzing of electricity, only the rhythm of footsteps on cobblestones, the creak of a cart's wooden wheel, the rustle of cloth as a cloak was drawn tighter against the cool night air. Within this quieter world, human affection found its voice in subtle gestures. A glance, a smile, a folded scrap of parchment bearing words of admiration. Dating, as we know it today, was not a simple matter in medieval times. There were rules, customs, and expectations laid down by family, by society, and by the church. Love could be noble, refined, and celebrated in poetry, yet at the same time it could be hidden, forbidden, and punished if it defied the order of things. And in between those two extremes, ordinary men and women sought companionship in the humblest of ways, at village fairs, at harvest dances, or at the steps of a church after Sunday Mass. As you listen, let the noise of the present day slip away. Each description is a thread, weaving together a gentle tapestry of the past. You may hear the faint murmur of voices in a medieval inn, the clinking of cups, or the gentle strains of a lute played in the corner. You may imagine a knight polishing his armor beneath a torch, his thoughts not on battle, but on the lady whose ribbon is tied to his sleeve. You may see a young woman tending sheep in the meadow, glancing shyly at the farmer's son who passes with a cart of hay. This story will not be hurried, for neither was life then. Step by step, we will move deeper into this world, pausing to notice the details, pausing to imagine the textures, the scents, the sounds. Perhaps in doing so, your mind will find its own rest, drifting easily on the calm river of time until sleep comes to claim you, gently. Before we begin our journey in earnest, I would like to thank you for joining me tonight. If you find comfort in these gentle explorations of history, I kindly ask you to subscribe, to like, and to leave a comment telling us where in the world you are listening from. Your presence here keeps the light glowing in this little corner of calm. Now, dear listener, let us take our first true step into medieval romance. We will begin with the social setting, the structure of medieval society that shaped how people loved, how they courted, and how they dreamed of marriage. Imagine the distant chime of bells marking the hour, and let us walk together into the heart of history. Let us now step carefully into the social world of the Middle Ages. For without understanding the frame, we cannot fully see the picture. Society at that time was not loose or free, as we might imagine today. It was bound tightly like a woven tapestry where every thread had its place, its role, its duty. At the top stood the nobility and the royal courts, kings, queens, dukes, and lords, whose lives were carefully recorded by chroniclers and poets. For them, marriage was rarely about affection and almost never about the soft pull of the heart. It was a matter of land, alliances, and bloodlines. A daughter might be promised to a neighboring prince while she was still a child, not for love, but for the strength it would give to her father's position. A son might be wed to secure the loyalty of a vassal, or to bring dowry into the family coffers. Yet, even within this structure, love sometimes found a way. Whispered conversations in castle corridors, stolen glances during feasts, secret letters carried by trusted servants. The nobility lived in a world of strict duty, but hearts still beat beneath their velvet robes. It is from this world that the idea of courtly love was born, a refined, almost poetic vision of romance where a knight devoted himself not just to battle, but to the adoration of a lady. For the common folk, life looked very different. Most lived in villages, bound to the rhythms of farming, of seasons, of labor. Here, marriage was still practical, but on a smaller scale. A young woman's family hoped she would find a man with steady hands, a patch of land, or the tools of a trade. A young man's family looked for a wife who could manage a household, tend animals, and bear children who would help in the fields. Love, in the way we dream of it today, was not always the first concern. And yet, within these humble expectations, genuine affection grew like wildflowers along the edge of a plowed field. It is worth pausing here to think about how different the idea of choice was. In many parts of medieval Europe, marriages were arranged by families, sometimes with the help of matchmakers, sometimes with the blessing of the parish priest. A daughter was rarely free to choose her partner outright, for she was seen as part of her family's wealth, to be given, in a sense, in exchange for alliance or security. Sons too often followed the decisions of their fathers, though they sometimes had a little more say. And yet, human nature is persistent. Young men and women did not simply accept their fate without thought. They met one another at village festivals, where music and dancing loosened the grip of daily labor. They spoke quietly in the fields when work brought them side by side. They exchanged small tokens, a ribbon, a carved wooden charm, a sprig of flowers gathered from the hedgerow. Each gesture was a spark, a reminder that affection could exist even within the tight weave of duty. The church, ever present in medieval life, had its own firm voice in these matters. Priests and bishops taught that marriage was a sacred bond, one that must be blessed and one that must follow certain rules. Cousins too close in blood could not marry, nor could unions be made without consent, though in truth, parental authority often overshadowed the young couple's wishes. Weddings were most often held at the doors of churches, witnessed by the community, before the pair stepped inside to kneel at the altar. In this way, love and duty wove together in a fabric that was often hard to separate. To love in the Middle Ages was to move within the boundaries of family expectation, of community custom, and of church teaching. Yet the quiet truth is that within those boundaries, people still found ways to feel the thrill of affection, to experience the tremor of longing. As you rest with these images in mind, picture a small village square on a summer evening. The air carries the scent of hay and wood smoke, and children chase one another as the older folk gather to share stories. In the midst of it all, a boy and a girl exchange a glance. It is quick, fleeting, but in that moment, the entire world narrows to a single point of connection. This, too, was dating in the Middle Ages, not formal, not free, but present, alive, quietly powerful. Now, dear listener, having set the stage with the framework of society, we will move slowly forward. In the next part, we will step into the world of the nobility and explore the refined tradition of courtly love, the knights and the ladies, the poetry and the symbols, the ideals that turned romance into art. For now, let your mind drift among the stone walls of castles and the green fields of villages, knowing that in both, love took root and shaped the lives of those who lived long ago. Now, dear listener, close your eyes and let us walk together through the shadowed corridors of the great halls where nobles gathered and where the ideals of courtly love were woven like delicate threads into the fabric of medieval life. In these castles of stone, with banners fluttering from high towers, the air was heavy, not only with the scent of roasted meats and spiced wine, but with expectation, with glances exchanged between knight and lady, with words unspoken and gestures filled with meaning. Courtly love, as it came to be known, was not simply about affection. It was a performance, a dance of restraint and devotion, shaped by rules as strict as any code of chivalry. The knight would dedicate his service, his loyalty, his very life to a lady, often not his wife, but his inspiration, his muse, the one who would test his honor and sharpen his virtue. Imagine, dear listener, a knight kneeling in the candlelit hall, his polished armor reflecting the firelight, his voice trembling as he recites verses learned by heart, verses not written for battle, but for longing. For the ache of distant affection, he would swear to uphold her honor, to fight in her name, to bear her colors on his shield, even if her smile was the only reward he might ever know. And the lady, in turn, would not simply accept such devotion with ease. She was expected to be distant, reserved, a figure of grace, one who set challenges before her knight, who demanded patience, humility, and courage. Her power was subtle, yet immense, for through her the knight's deeds gained meaning. His battles were transformed from mere contests into acts of love. His victories were crowned not only with glory, but with the shimmer of her approval. This tradition, born in the courts of southern France, spread across Europe, carried by troubadours and poets, their songs drifting from castle to castle like the petals of roses on the wind. Verses told of secret meetings in gardens, of tokens exchanged beneath the stars, of whispered words beneath the watchful eyes of courtiers. And though much of it was idealized, a tapestry of dreams, more than daily reality, it shaped the way people thought of love, of honor, of the heart itself. Picture now, dear listener, a courtyard in spring, ivy climbing the gray walls, the sound of a lute echoing beneath arched windows. A young troubadour sings of a love so pure it defies time, his voice carrying into the night, weaving through the corridors, stirring the hearts of those who listen. For in these tales, love was not possession, but yearning, not fulfillment, but the eternal reaching for something higher, something just beyond one's grasp. Even knights who rode into tournaments, lances splintering against shields, saw their contests as more than sport. They were offerings, displays meant to prove worthiness, to show that beneath the steel, beneath the weight of duty, lay a heart that burned with devotion. And when the lady of the court offered a favor, perhaps a ribbon, tied to the knight's arm, it was more precious than any jewel, for it carried with it a promise, a spark of recognition, a reason to endure. And so the castles were not only fortresses of war, but stages for romance, their stone halls echoing with laughter, poetry, and sighs. The ideals of courtly love gave shape to stories that still live today, in tales of gallant heroes and unattainable ladies, in dreams of love that lifts the spirit beyond the ordinary. Rest here, dear listener, in that quiet courtyard of the mind, where the echoes of lutes still linger, and the voices of knights and ladies drift through the night air. Let yourself feel the gentle pull of longing, the beauty of love made into art, and drift softly, knowing we are only at the beginning of this journey into the heart of medieval romance. The sun rises slowly over the rolling hills surrounding the castle, spilling golden light across the courtyards where knights move with quiet purpose, their armor glinting faintly in the morning haze. Within the stone walls, life stirs in measured rhythm, each footstep, each movement, deliberate, reflecting not only the order of the castle, but the ideals that govern the hearts of those who dwell within. In the great hall, a lady sits by a window, her fingers delicately tracing the embroidery of her gown. The soft sound of her needle moving through silk, almost drowned by the distant echo of a lute played somewhere in the corridors. She glances toward the doorway, her eyes catching the first rays of sunlight, imagining the young knight who serves not only the Lord, but her as his muse, the one to whom he dedicates his deeds in secret reverence. Across the courtyard, a knight practices his stance with the sword, each swing a testament to discipline, but also a silent message carried in the traditions of courtly love. For every movement is observed, every bow in the hall, every courteous nod is part of a ritual that communicates respect, admiration, and devotion. The armor may shield the body, yet it cannot contain the heart that yearns in quiet devotion. Within the castle kitchens, cooks prepare bread and stew, the scent rising in warm spirals that reach even the tallest towers. Servants move with careful steps, aware of the hierarchy, yet finding small moments to exchange smiles, brief touches, or whispered jokes. Even here, the subtle currents of affection flow, hidden beneath the weight of duty and service. In the gardens, the air is fragrant with roses and herbs, paths lined with neatly trimmed hedges, forming patterns that seem almost like the intricate designs of love letters themselves. Gentle streams trickle over stones, reflecting light like scattered gems, while birds flit from branch to branch, their songs blending with the soft murmur of wind through leaves. Here, knights might meet their ladies under the guise of strolls for exercise or leisure, sharing words veiled in poetry, exchanging small tokens, ribbons, carved wooden charms, or tiny bouquets, each gesture rich with meaning, delicate and treasured, Poets and troubadours wander the halls, carrying news, songs, and stories of distant courts. Their voices rise in melodies that speak of valor, longing, and the ache of unfulfilled love. They tell of knights riding through forests at night to deliver secret messages, of letters hidden within books, of favors given and received in the shadows, all small threads in the tapestry of medieval romance. Each tale, each verse, reinforces the unspoken rules. Love is noble, yet restrained. Devotion is visible, yet veiled. Desire is recognized, yet not fully declared. Even tournaments, celebrated with trumpets and cheers, are not mere spectacle. They are stages upon which devotion is demonstrated. Courage displayed not only in competition, but in homage to the ideals of honor and love. A joust is not won solely for glory, but for the smile of a lady observing from the stands, the flutter of a scarf tied to her wrist, signaling approval, a quiet acknowledgement that elevates a simple victory into an emblem of devotion. As the day progresses, letters are exchanged, sometimes by trusted servants, sometimes hidden within the folds of books or tucked beneath stones in secret gardens. Each note is carefully crafted, with words chosen not only for meaning, but for beauty, adorned with small illustrations, flourishes, and the soft fragrance of herbs pressed between the pages. To receive such a letter is to hold a piece of someone's heart, carried delicately across distance and circumstance, a whisper of affection that bridges the gap between worlds separated by duty and expectation. And so, in this castle, and in countless others across medieval Europe, life continues in a delicate balance. Duties performed, hierarchies respected, and yet the tender currents of courtly love flowing quietly beneath the surface. Knights and ladies, poets and musicians, servants and young apprentices all participate, consciously or unconsciously, in the weaving of a grand narrative where devotion and restraint, longing and decorum combine to form the very essence of love as it was known in that age. As the sun sets slowly beyond the distant hills, casting long shadows across the courtyards, imagine the flicker of torches, the gentle whisper of evening breeze through the corridors, and the soft sighs of hearts that ache in silent admiration. These moments, though fleeting, are eternal in memory, preserved in verse, in song, and in the quiet recollections of those who lived, loved, and dreamed within these stone walls. In the quiet villages that stretched beyond the reach of castles and courts, life followed the rhythms of the seasons, and love took its own humble, tender forms. The peasants and craftsmen, far from the grandeur of knights and ladies, found ways to express affection within the gentle constraints of daily life. At the edge of the fields where wildflowers grew in soft clusters, young men and women met while working, bending to gather grain, tending animals, or fetching water from the well. Their glances were brief, their smiles quick, yet in those small gestures a whole world of longing and hope was contained. A ribbon tied to a basket handle, a carved wooden charm left on a doorstep, a note slipped under a door. These were the tender signs of budding affection, subtle yet powerful. Village fairs were the highlight of the year, when music, laughter, and the smell of fresh bread and roasting meats filled the air. Families gathered to trade goods, and amid the stalls, young hearts discovered one another. Boys and girls danced in circles, spinning lightly to the sound of fiddles, drums, and flutes, their laughter ringing across the square. It was here, beneath the banners fluttering in the breeze, that friendships blossomed into romance, and shy glances became daring touches of hands, fleeting but full of promise. The songs of the minstrels and wandering musicians carried tales of love from one village to another. Their melodies, simple yet stirring, told of star-crossed lovers, of daring deeds to win a heart, of longing that could not be contained by distance or circumstance. Couples often met after the music faded, under the shade of an old oak, by the stream or near a quiet chapel, speaking softly of dreams and hopes while the world around them hummed with life. Letters played a crucial role in these secret exchanges. Unlike the ornate messages of the nobility, peasant notes were often simple, written on scraps of parchment or cloth, tied with thread or hidden in baskets. Yet even these humble words carried immense weight. A single line, "I think of you when I work in the field," could stir the heart more deeply than any treasure, bridging the distance between two souls and creating a private world of shared longing. Festivals and harvest celebrations were more than just communal joy. They were occasions for courtship. Men and women would gather in the open fields, dancing beneath lanterns, their feet kicking up dust, their laughter mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant call of a nightingale. Games and competitions provided opportunities for bravery and charm to be displayed, chasing each other across the fields, racing to fetch water, or showcasing skill in throwing rings or hoops. The victor might win a playful kiss, a hand extended in greeting, or simply the admiration of a shy glance. Even the smallest acts could carry meaning. A girl sharing her lunch with a boy in the fields, a boy helping with chores unbidden, a hand brushing lightly against another while passing along the village path. Each act was imbued with subtle signals, invisible to many but noticed by those whose hearts were awake to them. In a world with few luxuries, these gestures were treasures, symbols of care and attention that built the foundations of lasting affection. As evening fell and the torches were lit along the main square, the villagers would gather to share stories of old loves, of marriages celebrated, and of romances that had blossomed or faded. Elders spoke with fondness, recounting how they first met their partners at the market, during a harvest festival, or while working together in the fields. Their words carried the soft rhythm of years lived, of love nurtured in the quiet spaces of ordinary life. And so, in every corner of the medieval world, from the grandeur of castles to the humble cottages of peasants, love found a way to express itself. It adapted to its environment, shaped by duty, by expectation, and by the simple joys of everyday life. Whether through song, dance, letter, or glance, the hearts of men and women reached across barriers, creating a tapestry of romance as rich and varied as the land itself. As night settled gently over the village, the moon casting silver light over the fields, one could almost hear the echo of laughter, the whisper of shy words, and the soft pulse of hearts quietly entwined. These moments, fleeting yet enduring, remind us that love, in all its forms, has always been an essential thread in the fabric of human life, delicate yet unbreakable. Beyond the village and the castle, in quiet corners of the countryside, life continued under rules that were strict, unyielding, and often invisible to those who did not live within their bounds. In medieval times, love was never entirely free. It moved within lines drawn by family, by community, and by the ever-present hand of the church. Yet even under these constraints, hearts found ways to speak, to reach, to dream. Imagine a young couple meeting by a shaded stream, far from the eyes of the world. The boy, careful not to alarm the elders, holds a small bouquet of wildflowers gathered from the fields. The girl accepts them with a shy smile, her hands brushing lightly against his, an unspoken acknowledgement that in this simple gesture something tender has been shared. Every step they take together is measured, for discovery could bring not only shame but punishment. Yet the risk only deepens the sense of closeness, the thrill of the moment, the quiet beating of hearts in unison. In some villages, certain forms of affection were discouraged, even forbidden, and young lovers learned to be creative. Notes were hidden in hollowed-out logs or tucked beneath stones, each one a small treasure, a promise, a connection across the spaces that society dictated they must respect. A wink across the market, a hand lightly resting on the shoulder in the barn, or a whispered word while passing along the path. All were acts of bravery, and all carried meaning far beyond their seeming simplicity. Even in the forests surrounding the villages, adventures unfolded. Hunters returning from their day's work might pass along secret paths where they encountered a beloved waiting, a token of friendship or affection exchanged in the quiet of the trees. These clandestine meetings, bathed in sunlight filtering through leaves, created a private world, fragile yet enduring, where hearts could speak in ways the outside world could not understand. Festivals remained a place for love to be expressed, albeit subtly. Harvest dances, spring celebrations, and local fairs provided a sanctioned space for young people to meet. Yet even here, rules applied. Elders watched with careful eyes, and those who dared too boldly risked reprimand. Thus, affection became a language of nuance. Glances, the way a hand lingered near another, the tilt of a head, the soft laughter shared between tasks. In this dance of careful signals, every subtlety mattered, and every gesture was treasured. Even the letters themselves, simple as they were, carried codes. A folded corner, a pressed flower, a certain ink color. Each might communicate different levels of interest or urgency. These tiny, deliberate acts required observation, patience, and care, turning every exchange into an art, a silent dialogue, a bridge across the strictures of society. And yet, amid these rules and restrictions, love brought joy, even humor. A boy might hide a small charm inside a loaf of bread, knowing the girl would discover it at supper. A girl might leave a playful note inside a basket of laundry awaiting a secret laugh. Life, though bound by duty and expectation, still allowed these little sparks of delight to illuminate ordinary days, reminding all who dared to hope that affection, no matter how constrained, could still flourish. As dusk falls over the meadows, the light fading into a gentle indigo, one can almost hear the faint echoes of laughter among the trees, the whisper of soft words shared in the quiet, the pulse of hearts beating in hidden spaces. The stories of forbidden and cautious love continue here, not in grandeur, but in the ordinary, humble, persistent ways that define human hearts. Even in a world of rules, hierarchies, and watchful eyes, Love finds a way to live, to grow, and to leave traces that endure across the centuries. So, let the gentle night envelop you, dear listener, as you imagine these secret meetings, these carefully exchanged letters, these quiet moments of longing and devotion. Let your mind wander through forests, fields, and village paths, following the tender threads of affection that wove lives together long ago, knowing that every glance, every whisper, and every small act of bravery in love carries a story worth remembering. In the bustling streets of medieval towns, life moved with a rhythm far different from the quiet villages. Cobblestones echoed with the clatter of carts, the calls of merchants, and the chatter of townsfolk. Yet amid this lively chaos, love found subtle ways to flourish. Here, social class and guilds shaped daily interactions, yet young hearts still discovered moments of tenderness, curiosity, and longing. Apprentices working in workshops learned to steal glances at the daughters of merchants or fellow apprentices, their hands rough with labor, but their intentions delicate. A shared smile across the crowded marketplace could carry the promise of affection. A fleeting touch of the hand when passing tools or wares could speak louder than words. In a world governed by trade, duty, and strict hierarchies, these small interactions became the language of urban romance. Town fairs and guild festivals were vibrant opportunities for connection. Minstrels and jesters provided music and laughter that masked the nervous excitement of young couples navigating the crowded squares. Here, dances were not only entertainment, but moments of subtle courtship. Boys might lead girls around in careful steps, exchanging whispered words and gentle teasing. Each gesture, each tilt of the head, each exchanged glance conveyed meaning in a society where public displays of affection were limited and often frowned upon. The role of letters remained crucial. Young lovers in towns, much like their rural counterparts, relied on scraps of parchment, hidden notes, or messages passed through trusted friends. A single carefully written word could bring comfort, encouragement, or the thrill of anticipation. Merchants' daughters often learned to read and write with surprising skill, giving them the ability to participate in these exchanges, composing letters that were not only practical, but delicate, poetic, and full of subtle emotion. For those in the higher echelons of urban life, such as minor nobles, wealthy merchants, and the educated class, love was entangled with ambition and reputation. Courting a woman of status required careful planning, adherence to social expectations, and constant negotiation between personal desire and societal rules. A dance at a guild hall might involve careful observation, polite conversation, and the exchange of tokens. Sometimes a handkerchief, a coin with a tiny engraving, or a ribbon that symbolized acknowledgement. These small acts were both gestures of affection and demonstrations of propriety, blending devotion with decorum. In taverns and inns, love stories often unfolded under the cloak of night, with flickering candlelight casting long shadows on stone walls. Young men and women met secretly, sharing songs, stories, or simply the warmth of companionship away from the watchful eyes of family and guild members. Even here, gestures were measured. Every word, every laugh, every fleeting touch carried significance, and every encounter risked scrutiny. Yet the very risk made the moments all the more precious. As the sun set over the tiled rooftops, the sounds of the town softened into evening. Street lamps glimmered, windows glowed with warm light, and shadows stretched long across the cobblestones. Lovers might part with a promise to meet again, a token carefully held, a letter folded and hidden beneath a floorboard. These moments, small yet enduring, remind us that in cities, as in villages, the human heart finds a way to express longing, devotion, and desire, navigating social rules with quiet ingenuity. Even amid trade, taxes, and the responsibilities of city life, love continued to weave its threads. Apprentices, merchants, and young nobles alike discovered that patience, subtlety, and courage were as essential to matters of the heart as they were to work or duty. In every whispered conversation, every carefully placed note, and every stolen glance, the essence of medieval romance thrived, delicate, persistent, and alive across the bustling streets. And so, as night blankets the town, and the moonlight spills over tiled roofs and narrow alleys, one can imagine countless hearts beating quietly in tandem, some bold, some timid, yet all united in the timeless pursuit of connection, intimacy, and love, even within the confines of a society defined by rules, expectation, and watchful eyes. In towns and villages alike, the presence of war always lingered, subtle yet constant. Young men trained as knights, soldiers, or militia carried the weight of duty alongside the weight of the heart. Love in these times was never simple. It existed in the spaces between obligation and desire, in stolen moments before a campaign, in hurried letters sent across miles of countryside. Imagine a young squire preparing for a distant skirmish, his heart heavy not only with the knowledge of danger, but with the thought of the woman he admires. He writes her a short note on a scrap of parchment, sealing it with a pressed flower or a small emblem, hoping that it reaches her before he leaves. In his eyes, this message carries more than affection. It is courage, devotion, and the promise that absence will not erase longing. The young lady, in turn, waits anxiously, knowing that social rules limit her freedom to act. Her days are filled with chores, family obligations, and the careful maintenance of propriety. Yet her thoughts wander constantly to the night, imagining his return, imagining the words he might say, imagining the gentle touch of a hand in a quiet corner of the garden. Every glance at a window, every step through the hall is measured, cautious, and yet infused with hope. In cities, news of military campaigns would arrive like whispers, carried by messengers along cobblestone streets. Lovers, separated by duty, found ways to maintain connection through letters, songs, and small gifts left in secret locations. A ribbon tied to a balcony, a note tucked beneath a merchant's stall, a carved token hidden within a book. All were tiny bridges across the chasm of distance and uncertainty. Festivals and market days became precious opportunities. Knights returning briefly from campaigns, or apprentices completing urgent work, would meet in quiet nooks of town squares, gardens, or along riverbanks. Each moment together was brief yet cherished. Each shared laugh, glance, or word was amplified by the knowledge that danger, distance, or obligation could intervene at any time. In these fleeting encounters, the intensity of affection deepened. The heart beating faster for both excitement and fear. Even in the midst of battles, tales of devotion survived. Soldiers wrote poems on scraps of cloth, etched small symbols into the handles of swords, or sang songs of their beloved in campfires at night. These acts, humble yet profound, transformed acts of duty into acts of love, reminding all who witnessed them that bravery was not only measured in combat, but in the quiet persistence of affection, in the courage to maintain hope against all odds. Back in villages and towns, families and friends play crucial roles in these romances. Trusted allies delivered letters, shared news, and ensured tokens of affection reached their destination safely. These networks allowed love to endure, often in spite of the strictures imposed by society, the distance created by military campaigns, or the pressures of social rank. Through ingenuity, patience, and care, hearts remained connected, weaving intricate patterns of devotion, longing, and resilience. Even when separation was long, memories of shared moments sustained hope. A song learned together, a walk through a sunlit garden, a quiet conversation by the well. These simple recollections provided comfort, a gentle reminder that affection, though tested by distance or danger, could endure and inspire courage. Love, in this era, was never passive. It demanded action, creativity, and courage, qualities that were nurtured in both knight and lady, in apprentice and merchant's daughter, in every heart that dared to seek connection. As twilight draped over the rooftops and fields, the quiet of night offered another form of solace. Lanterns glimmered along streets, torches flickered in courtyards, and shadows stretched long across the land. Lovers paused in their thoughts, hearts beating in rhythm with one another across miles, finding strength in memory, in hope, and in the unbroken promise of devotion. Even in a world of uncertainty, peril, and obligation, love persisted, resilient, patient, and quietly triumphant. In a world governed by rules, reputation, and strict hierarchies, love often found itself tested in ways both thrilling and perilous. Forbidden romances, secret meetings, and stolen moments defined the lives of many who dared to follow the heart rather than the law of custom. Imagine a young couple, separated by family expectations or class distinctions, meeting under the cover of twilight in a quiet orchard. The scent of apples and wildflowers mingles with the cool evening air, and every glance, every touch is laden with meaning. They speak in whispers, careful not to be heard, careful not to attract attention, yet their hearts thunder with the joy and fear of being together. In this delicate balance between risk and desire, love reaches its most intense form. In towns, messages were hidden in hollow beams, beneath loose stones, or within folded letters carried by trusted friends. Each note, each token, becomes an emblem of courage as well as affection. A ribbon tied to a window latch, a small carving left at a meeting spot, a pressed flower hidden within a book. All are silent declarations of devotion that risk discovery at every turn. Even festivals and public gatherings, while intended for communal joy, became stages for subtle rebellion. Lovers navigated the crowds with care, exchanging glances over bustling stalls, brushing hands during dances, or communicating through songs and gestures. Every moment together was heightened by the knowledge that exposure could lead to shame, reprimand, or worse. Yet this very danger intensified their feelings, forging bonds strengthened by secrecy and shared daring. In some cases, the constraints were even stricter. Marriages were arranged for alliances, wealth, or social standing, leaving little room for the heart's desires. Yet, young people found ingenuity in expressing their affection. A lady might leave a token inside a book intended for another's eyes, or a young man might carve initials into a tree where he knew she would pass. These small acts of courage and creativity created a private world of intimacy amidst the public scrutiny of society. Even within the castle walls, the strict rules of decorum tested relationships. Courtiers observed, whispers carried messages, and the wrong word or gesture could ripple through the halls with consequences. Yet love persisted, adapting, enduring, and finding quiet ways to flourish. Knights and ladies exchanged poems, musicians wove messages into songs, and loyal servants carried letters and tokens with discretion. In this intricate dance of desire and duty, every act of affection required thought, patience, and courage. The tension of forbidden love heightened emotions, turning simple moments into memories that would last a lifetime. A stolen kiss beneath the moonlight, a softly spoken vow in a shadowed hallway, a token held close to the heart. All these small acts became monumental within the lives of those involved. In such moments, the intensity of emotion transformed ordinary experiences into the extraordinary, illuminating the power of the human heart to find connection despite obstacles. As night deepened, torches flickered, and the sounds of the village softened into gentle whispers of the wind. Lovers parted with the quiet promise of meeting again. Every heartbeat carried the weight of longing, the thrill of secrecy, and the knowledge that even under strict rules and the watchful eyes of society, love could endure. These are the moments where courage meets tenderness, where passion and restraint intertwine, creating stories that resonate through time. In this medieval world, whether in the grandeur of castles or the simple cottages of villages, forbidden love was a testament to the resilience of the heart. It taught patience, ingenuity, and bravery, and it revealed that true devotion could flourish even amidst the strictest boundaries. Every glance, every word, every gesture, small or grand, became a thread in the intricate tapestry of human connection, a reminder that love, even constrained, is indomitable and eternal. As the seasons turned, the tapestry of medieval life continued to weave together tales of longing, courage, and quiet devotion. In both towns and villages, the rhythm of daily chores and obligations was punctuated by moments of intimate secrecy and whispered promises. Love, in all its forms, found subtle ways to thrive even amidst duty, danger, and societal expectation. In shadowed gardens and behind lattice windows, young couples exchanged furtive glances and words that carried more meaning than speech alone could convey. Every gesture, a hand lightly brushing against another, a ribbon left in a familiar place, a small token hidden in a flower pot, became a symbol, a language understood only by those whose hearts were intertwined. Even the simplest acts were imbued with significance, transforming ordinary spaces into worlds of private intimacy. Mystery played a vital role in these romances. Lovers often relied on codes and hidden messages to communicate, with each nuance carefully calculated. A fold in a letter might signal urgency. A pressed flower might indicate longing. A slight tilt of the head during a dance could convey admiration or a desire to meet again. Every exchange was a delicate negotiation between desire and discretion, a test of both wit and courage. In towns, marketplaces became stages for subtle performances of courtship. Young men, careful of their reputation and the eyes of the elders, sought creative ways to impress without drawing unwanted attention. Songs sung at the edge of a fountain, playful contests of skill, or the exchange of small crafted gifts allowed affection to flourish under the veil of everyday life. Each act carried layers of meaning, teaching patience, observation, and the art of gentle persuasion. In castles, the stakes were higher. Courtiers watched. Alliances influenced behavior, and even the smallest gesture could have repercussions far beyond the heart of the individual. Yet, love persisted, finding its ways through poetry, music, and the careful navigation of social rules. Knights and ladies discovered that courage in affection was as vital as courage on the battlefield, and that the heart's resilience could bend without breaking, shaping lives with quiet but lasting influence. Beyond the physical spaces, the emotional landscape was equally intricate. Jealousy, longing, anticipation, and hope intertwined to create tension that pulsed quietly through daily life. Lovers often experienced both exhilaration and fear, knowing that discovery could change everything. Yet the very presence of risk intensified devotion, heightening the senses and making each interaction a cherished memory. Even ordinary villagers participated in these subtle dramas. Peasants and apprentices, constrained by social expectations and family obligations, discovered clever ways to maintain connection. Notes hidden beneath boards, tokens passed in baskets, songs performed with double meanings, all became ways to navigate the delicate boundaries of propriety while nurturing desire. These small acts, though modest, were profound in their significance, revealing the ingenuity and courage of the human heart. As night descended, the world softened into a quiet rhythm. Lanterns flickered, the wind whispered through branches, and distant music from town squares mingled with the gentle rustle of leaves. Hearts beat in anticipation. Memories of stolen glances and secret meetings lingered, and the invisible threads of connection stretched across distances both great and small. Love, in its myriad forms, endured, a force both delicate and unyielding, shaping the lives of those who dared to embrace it fully. In this tapestry of medieval romance, every action, every glance, and every word mattered. The lives of knights, ladies, merchants, and villagers alike were bound by invisible threads of affection and devotion. These threads, sometimes bold, sometimes hidden, created stories that have endured across centuries, reminding us that love, in all its subtlety and complexity, has always been a guiding force in human life. As the seasons shifted and years passed, the bonds of love were tested in ways both subtle and profound. In villages, towns, and castles alike, the endurance of affection became intertwined with courage, patience, and the challenges of life. Every meeting, every letter, every stolen moment was a thread in a fabric strengthened by trial and nurtured by hope. Imagine a young couple standing at the edge of a village green, knowing that the boy must soon depart for service or apprenticeship in a distant town. Their hands brush lightly as they speak in quiet tones, sharing fears, hopes, and promises. Each word carries weight. Every glance is loaded with meaning, and the heart recognizes that absence will deepen longing and test devotion. Yet within this challenge lies the ultimate measure of love, the ability to endure, to remain faithful, and to cherish memory in anticipation of reunion. In towns, social expectation often demanded restraint. Young lovers navigated these rules with ingenuity, crafting hidden messages and subtle gestures that communicated feelings without breaking propriety. A folded corner in a letter, a ribbon tied to a balcony, a pressed flower tucked beneath a merchant's ledger, all became secret symbols of devotion. The thrill of secrecy, combined with the constant presence of social constraints, heightened emotion and imbued every act of affection with significance. In castles, love was further complicated by duty, hierarchy, and the watchful eyes of courtiers. Knights and ladies discovered that true courage was required not only in battle, but in matters of the heart. Poems exchanged in whispered tones, songs sung with hidden meaning, and tokens passed with discretion created a delicate dance of desire and propriety. Here, the endurance of love was tested against the weight of expectation, yet its persistence revealed the strength and resilience of the human heart. Even ordinary villagers experienced trials that shaped their affection. Family obligations, economic pressures, and community scrutiny required lovers to act with patience, creativity, and care. A young girl waiting for a boy to return from distant work might spend hours in quiet anticipation, treasuring the memory of shared laughter or a fleeting glance. A boy might carve initials into a tree, knowing that this small act of devotion could withstand the scrutiny of time. These simple gestures, though modest, became powerful symbols of fidelity and hope. Festivals and communal gatherings offered rare opportunities for resolution and affirmation. Harvest dances, market days, and seasonal celebrations became spaces where long-hidden affection could be acknowledged safely. Lovers practiced subtle signals, shared glances, soft touches, or carefully orchestrated encounters to communicate longing, joy, and commitment. In these moments, the tension of secrecy was replaced by the warmth of mutual recognition, and the heart celebrated its triumph over constraint. As night fell, shadows lengthened across village paths, castle walls, and cobbled streets. Lanterns flickered, music faded into quiet echoes, and hearts that had endured trials beat with a sense of calm triumph. Love, tested by absence, societal rules, and the uncertainties of life, had persisted, proving its resilience and its ability to transform ordinary lives into stories of courage, devotion, and emotional depth. Even in the smallest acts, letters treasured, hands held in secret, shared smiles across crowded squares, love left its indelible mark. It shaped decisions, inspired bravery, and created bonds that endured across time. In this medieval world, from bustling towns to quiet hamlets, from humble cottages to grand castles, the human heart demonstrated that devotion, patience, and courage are as timeless as they are essential. Thus, as the moon rose over the fields, rooftops, and garden walls, one could imagine countless hearts quietly celebrating the triumph of love. Through trials and challenges, through secrecy and daring, through longing and fulfillment, love endured, resilient, patient, and eternal, leaving a legacy that whispers softly through the ages, reminding all who listen that the human heart's pursuit of connection is both universal and everlasting. In the gentle hush of early morning, as dew sparkled on the grass and the first bird song drifted through the village, hearts continued to navigate the delicate intricacies of love. For young couples, every day brought opportunities to balance desire with duty, affection with social expectation. Each encounter, each message, each token exchanged was a small triumph of ingenuity and courage. Imagine a pair of lovers meeting near a river, where the currents murmur softly against moss-covered stones. The boy presents a small carved wooden emblem, a gift painstakingly shaped by his own hands. The girl accepts it with a careful smile, knowing that to cherish such a gift openly would invite the scrutiny of elders. In this quiet moment, time seems suspended. The world narrows to the space between their glances, their breaths, and the unspoken words that pass silently from heart to heart. In towns, the complexity of urban life shaped romance in unexpected ways. Merchants' daughters, skilled in reading and writing, participated fully in the language of subtle communication. Notes hidden in baskets, tokens tucked into books, or secret words spoken across bustling squares created networks of affection that defied the watchful eyes of parents, guilds, and neighbors. Every act was deliberate, requiring thought and patience, and every success brought joy and hope, reinforcing the resilience of youthful hearts. Within castle walls, the stakes of love were higher, intertwined with power, reputation, and expectation. Courtiers observed and whispered, alliances determined opportunity, and a careless gesture could ripple far beyond intention. Yet love persisted, adapting to its surroundings, using poetry, music, and symbolic gifts to communicate feelings safely. Knights and ladies learned that courage in love was as essential as courage in battle, and that affection required as much subtlety and strategy as any campaign. The tension of secrecy and anticipation heightened emotion, making each moment of connection precious. A shared glance at a feast, a hand lightly resting on another during a dance, or a note delivered by a trusted servant carried more weight than any overt declaration. In this era, love thrived in nuance, subtlety, and quiet acts of bravery, transforming ordinary life into a canvas of passion and devotion. Even in villages where lives seemed simpler, the complexities of love persisted. Social expectations, family responsibilities, and the watchful eyes of neighbors required young people to act with discretion. A girl waiting for her beloved might spend hours tending to the garden, every glance toward the path carrying hope. A boy might practice songs or craft gifts, each detail and expression of affection carefully honed to avoid unwanted attention. Through such acts, love endured and deepened, proving that even constraint could not diminish the heart's capacity to connect. Festivals and market days remained rare opportunities for affirmation. Between the bustle of stalls and the rhythm of music, lovers exchanged gestures and words cloaked in subtlety. A dance, a shared smile, or a whispered remark became a treasured memory, a proof of devotion and courage in a world that demanded restraint. In these moments, hearts were both tested and celebrated, blending danger with delight and longing with fulfillment. As night fell and lanterns flickered in streets and courtyards, hearts paused to reflect on the day's small triumphs. Love, tested by absence, societal rules, and the unpredictability of life, endured and deepened. In both villages and towns, among peasants and nobles, across the boundaries of class and duty, devotion found a way to persist. It was patient, subtle, resilient, and profound, an enduring testament to the human spirit. In the quiet of night, with stars shimmering overhead and soft breezes rustling leaves, lovers parted with the unspoken promise of tomorrow. Every glance, every touch, every shared secret strengthened the bond between hearts, creating stories that would ripple through time. In this medieval world, love, in all its complexity, courage, and subtlety, thrived, leaving traces that whisper across the centuries and remind us of the timeless pursuit of connection, longing, and devotion. As autumn painted the countryside in shades of amber and gold, the rhythm of daily life continued, yet love remained a force both exhilarating and challenging. In villages, towns, and castles, young hearts confronted obstacles that tested their resolve, patience, and creativity. Every encounter carried a mixture of joy, tension, and anticipation as lovers navigated the delicate balance between desire and propriety. Imagine a young lady waiting near the edge of a town square, her thoughts filled with hope and apprehension. She knows the young man she admires must soon depart on a journey to a distant market or neighboring town, leaving their connection suspended in uncertainty. Each glance exchanged, each carefully measured word is imbued with heightened significance. In the moments before parting, hearts beat faster, and every detail of their interaction becomes a memory to be treasured in absence. In towns, lovers found ingenious ways to communicate, notes hidden within folds of cloth, messages slipped beneath floorboards, or tokens carried by trusted friends kept the flame of affection alive. A small emblem, a pressed flower, or a carved wooden token spoke volumes, revealing courage, devotion, and the patience required to sustain love in a world ruled by observation and expectation. The act of loving became as much an exercise in subtlety and strategy as it was in emotion. Within castle walls, the pressures of hierarchy and duty intensified both risk and reward. Knights and ladies navigated the complexities of courtly etiquette while expressing affection through poetry, music, or symbolic gifts. A glance across a crowded hall, a softly spoken phrase during a dance, or a discreetly delivered letter became precious acts of courage. Every gesture was calculated, yet charged with genuine feeling, showing that in a world of rules and observation, love thrived most where patience and ingenuity were exercised. The tension of separation brought both longing and resilience. For those separated by duty, travel, or family expectation, anticipation became a force that strengthened emotional bonds. Each moment of reunion, no matter how brief, was celebrated with heightened awareness, creating memories that endured beyond the physical presence. Even in moments of quiet reflection, the memory of a touch, a smile, or a shared secret provided solace and reaffirmed devotion. In villages, Social expectations continued to shape interactions. Young women and men exercised discretion and creativity, balancing familial responsibilities with personal desire. A girl might hide a note beneath a basket. A boy might carve initials into a tree, and each small act carried the weight of courage and hope. These gestures, though modest, were profound, showing that love could persist even in constrained circumstances. Festivals, markets, and communal gatherings offered brief respite and opportunities for affirmation. Dances, shared songs, and subtle signals became spaces for emotional expression, testing the balance between public expectation and private desire. In these encounters, the tension of secrecy and the thrill of connection combined, producing moments of exquisite intensity, joy, and emotional growth. As twilight descended, painting rooftops, alleyways, and gardens in soft light, hearts reflected on the resilience of love. The trials of absence, societal rules, and life's unpredictability had strengthened bonds, creating a foundation of trust, devotion, and subtle intimacy. Across towns and villages, among peasants and nobles alike, love endured as a quiet, patient, and persistent force, shaping lives and inspiring courage, hope, and joy. In the quiet of night, stars shimmered overhead, and lanterns flickered along cobbled streets. Lovers parted with silent promises, hearts full of anticipation and longing. In the medieval world, where duty and expectation often constrained action, love revealed its power, subtle, resilient, and enduring. Every glance, word, and gesture carried meaning, reminding all that the pursuit of connection, courage, and devotion is a timeless and universal human experience. As the chill of late autumn settled over the land, the pulse of life carried on, yet love remained a force both tender and tumultuous. Young couples, separated by duty, distance, or expectation, found their hearts tested in ways that required courage, patience, and ingenuity. Each moment of connection became a triumph of the human spirit, and every absence deepened longing and emotional resonance. Imagine a young squire standing at the edge of a misty forest, waiting for a secret meeting with the lady he adores. His heart races not only with desire, but with the knowledge that discovery could bring social scandal or personal consequence. As he glimpses her approaching figure through the pale light, the world narrows to the space between them, each step forward charged with emotion. A gentle touch, a soft word, a fleeting glance, all carry weight far beyond their simplicity, reflecting devotion, hope, and bravery. In towns and villages, the art of subtle communication remained vital. Notes concealed within baskets, messages hidden beneath loose floorboards, or small gifts carried by trustworthy friends preserved the delicate bonds of affection. A pressed flower, a ribbon tied to a window, or a carved token spoke volumes, serving as both symbol and reassurance. Each act demanded discretion, ingenuity, and courage, highlighting the resilience required to maintain love amid social scrutiny and expectation. Within castles, courtly rules intensified both risk and reward. Knights and ladies expressed devotion through poetry, music, and symbolic gestures, careful to navigate the complexities of hierarchy and observation. A glance across a crowded hall, a softly spoken phrase during a dance, or a note delivered in secrecy became acts of courage and subtle intimacy. Love, in this environment, required both strategy and heart, revealing the power of affection to endure despite obstacles. The trials of separation amplified the intensity of emotion. Days apart, whether due to service, travel, or familial obligations, deepened longing and strengthened commitment. Memories of shared moments, walks in gardens, exchanged smiles, whispered words, provided comfort and reassurance. The heart, tested by distance and uncertainty, grew resilient, learning that devotion could flourish even under constraint. In villages, subtle defiance of social expectation became a necessary tool for maintaining connection. A young girl might leave a note hidden beneath a basket. A young man might carve initials into the bark of a tree. These small gestures, though modest, carried profound significance, symbolizing patience, courage, and hope. Love in this world required creativity, foresight, and dedication, transforming ordinary spaces and objects into vessels of deep emotional meaning. Festivals and public gatherings offered rare moments of celebration and affirmation. Harvest dances, market days, and seasonal events allowed lovers to exchange gestures, words, and glances safely. In these fleeting interactions, joy mingled with risk, creating memories that would endure. Each shared smile or secret touch strengthened bonds and affirmed the courage and resilience of hearts determined to connect despite societal boundaries. As night descended and lanterns flickered across streets and courtyards, hearts reflected on the persistence of love. Trials, absences, and expectations had not diminished devotion. Rather, they had reinforced it. Across villages, towns, and castles, affection endured, subtle yet powerful, patient yet unwavering. The human heart demonstrated its capacity to navigate constraint, to celebrate connection, and to cherish even the smallest triumphs of intimacy and trust. In the soft stillness of night, stars glimmered overhead, and gentle breezes whispered through trees and rooftops. Lovers parted with silent promises, hearts full of anticipation and yearning. In this medieval world where duty, expectation, and circumstance often constrained expression, love remained resilient, enduring, and transformative. Every glance, gesture, and word resonated across time, a testament to the timeless pursuit of connection, courage, and devotion. As winter's first frost touched the fields and rooftops, the lives of young lovers were once again tested. Separation, duty, and the ever-watchful eyes of society created challenges that demanded patience, ingenuity, and courage. The heart, however, remained resilient, finding ways to communicate longing and devotion even across distance and constraint. Imagine a young lady walking quietly along a snow-dusted path toward a secret meeting place. She clutches a small letter, carefully folded and sealed, filled with words of affection and reassurance. Her heart pounds with excitement and fear, knowing that the simple act of delivering this message carries risk. As she glimpses her beloved waiting under the bare branches of an old tree, the world seems to shrink, leaving only the space between them charged with anticipation, emotion, and unspoken promises. In towns and villages, lovers relied on ingenuity to maintain connection. Hidden notes, discreet tokens, and symbolic gestures became lifelines of devotion. A small carving on a doorpost, a ribbon tied to a window latch, or a pressed flower tucked into a book, all spoke volumes without revealing intention to the untrained eye. Each act required creativity, courage, and patience, demonstrating that love, though constrained, could flourish through careful thought and quiet determination. Within castle walls, love's subtleties became an intricate dance. Knights and ladies balanced courtly expectation with genuine affection, navigating the intricacies of etiquette and observation. Poems exchanged in secret, songs performed with hidden meaning, and carefully timed gestures allowed hearts to communicate safely. Courage was required not only on the battlefield, but in matters of emotion, and those who mastered both found love both exhilarating and enduring. The tension of distance amplified emotion. Days apart, whether due to duty, travel, or family obligation, heightened longing and reinforced devotion. Each reunion, however brief, became a celebration of resilience and fidelity. Every shared smile, touch, and glance was intensified by absence, leaving a memory that could sustain hearts until they met again. Even moments of quiet reflection offered solace, reminding lovers of the strength of their bond. Social expectations continued to shape interactions in villages and towns. Young women and men employed creativity to navigate restrictions, using subtle signs and hidden messages to communicate feelings. A carved initial, a folded note, or a token left in a familiar spot became powerful symbols of commitment and hope. These small gestures reinforced emotional resilience, proving that even constraint could not diminish the heart's capacity for connection. Festivals and communal events offered opportunities to express affection within socially acceptable boundaries. Seasonal dances, market gatherings, and religious celebrations allowed lovers to meet, exchange glances, and share subtle gestures. The thrill of secrecy, combined with the warmth of connection, created moments of joy, excitement, and enduring memory. These experiences strengthened bonds and highlighted the courage and dedication required to maintain love in a world of rules and expectation. As night fell, lanterns flickered along streets and pathways, casting soft light over snow-covered rooftops. Hearts reflected on the enduring power of affection. Love, tested by distance, social pressures, and uncertainty, persisted and deepened. Across villages, towns, and castles, devotion remained a quiet yet potent force, teaching patience, ingenuity, and the profound value of emotional resilience. In the stillness of winter night, stars twinkled overhead, and a gentle wind whispered through trees and rooftops. Lovers parted with unspoken promises, hearts filled with longing and hope. In the medieval world, where duty and societal expectation often constrained expression, love endured, subtle, resilient, and eternal, proving that the pursuit of connection and devotion transcends circumstance, time, and challenge. As the harshness of winter slowly gave way to the first hints of spring, hearts long tested by separation and duty found moments of renewal. In both towns and villages, love had endured through secrecy, ingenuity, and courage. Yet now the intensity of emotion heightened as hope and anticipation mingled with lingering uncertainty. Imagine a quiet glade near a meandering stream where the young couple has arranged a meeting under the soft light of dawn. Frost still clings to the edges of leaves and the air is crisp, yet the warmth between them is palpable. Words are few, but glances, gestures, and the simple act of standing near each other convey volumes. The trials of the past months, the letters hidden, the notes passed in secret, the small acts of courage, all culminate in this fleeting but profound connection. In towns, the language of subtlety continued to define affection. Lovers communicated through concealed notes, small gifts, or carefully choreographed gestures in crowded marketplaces. Each act required patience, creativity, and discretion, transforming everyday life into a landscape rich with emotional significance. A ribbon left on a balcony, a carved token tucked beneath a stone, or a flower pressed between pages spoke of devotion, courage, and hope, demonstrating that love could flourish even under constraint. Within castle walls, relationships reached new levels of subtle complexity. Knights and ladies balanced social hierarchy, expectation, and genuine affection, finding opportunities for connection amidst strict etiquette. Poems whispered across corridors, music performed with hidden meaning, and discreet gestures allowed hearts to meet in quiet triumph. Love, tested by circumstance and societal scrutiny, became a delicate dance of courage, wit, and emotional depth, proving that devotion could endure even in the most challenging settings. The tension of anticipation sharpened the senses. Absence had made the heart grow fonder, yet it also heightened fear. Fear of misunderstanding, discovery, or separation. Every touch, every word, every glance became a treasure, infused with meaning and remembered long after the meeting ended. Emotional resilience, patience, and ingenuity were rewarded with moments of intimacy that could sustain hearts through the long stretches of separation. In villages, social norms required careful navigation. Young women and men used creative signals and hidden messages to maintain connection while avoiding scrutiny. Notes tucked into baskets, initials carved into trees, and small tokens left in familiar spots allowed lovers to communicate across distance and constraint. Each act, though seemingly modest, reinforced courage, devotion, and the enduring nature of emotional bonds, proving that love could survive and thrive despite obstacles. Festivals and seasonal events continued to provide rare opportunities for affirmation. Harvest dances, market celebrations, and communal gatherings allowed lovers to meet safely and express subtle signals of affection. Shared smiles, fleeting touches, and whispered words became treasured memories, heightening both emotional connection and the thrill of secrecy. These moments of joy reinforced devotion and celebrated the courage required to maintain love in a structured society. As night fell over towns, villages, and castle courtyards, lanterns flickered along streets and paths, casting soft light over cobblestones and snow-dusted rooftops. Hearts reflected on the trials endured and the joy of connection found amidst them. Love, resilient, patient, and inventive, had persisted through absence, constraint, and expectation. Across all classes and settings, devotion remained a guiding force, a source of courage, and a testament to the enduring power of the human heart. In the soft stillness of twilight, stars shimmered above, and gentle winds carried the faintest whispers of longing and hope. Lovers parted with silent promises and hearts brimming with renewed devotion. In this medieval world, where social structures often constrained desire, love endured, subtle yet potent, patient yet persistent, shaping lives and leaving a legacy that whispers through time, reminding all of the timeless pursuit of connection, courage, and heartfelt devotion. As the first blossoms of spring began to appear, life stirred with renewed energy, yet the hearts of young lovers continued to face tests of endurance, patience, and courage. Across villages, towns, and castles, affection had survived secrecy, societal expectation, and separation. But now new challenges threatened to complicate matters further. Imagine the young lady walking along a shaded path in the early morning, a letter clutched tightly in her hand. She knows that her beloved faces obligations that might take him far from her for weeks, perhaps months. The uncertainty looms, yet within that anxiety lies an intensity of feeling that strengthens the bond rather than weakens it. Every glance shared, every word spoken, every small token exchanged becomes a powerful affirmation of devotion. In towns, the intricate art of hidden communication remained essential. Lovers relied on coded messages, small gifts, and subtle gestures to maintain connection without drawing the attention of watchful elders or curious neighbors. A flower pressed into a letter, a ribbon tied to a door, or a carved token left beneath a stone spoke volumes without a single overt word. Each act required patience, ingenuity, and courage, demonstrating the resilience of love in a constrained world. Within castle walls, the stakes of affection were heightened. Knights and ladies navigated a complex social landscape, balancing expectation, duty, and personal desire. Poems whispered in corridors, music performed with hidden meaning, and discreet gestures became crucial methods of connection. Every action carried potential risk, yet each successfully conveyed message, reinforced devotion, and nurtured the emotional bond between hearts. Separation deepened longing and strengthened emotional resilience. Days apart, whether due to duty, travel, or familial obligation, made moments of reunion all the more treasured. Every touch, glance, and shared word became a memory to sustain hearts through absence. Emotional endurance was cultivated in these periods of longing, revealing that love could flourish even under constraint and uncertainty. In villages, lovers exercised creativity to navigate social norms. A note hidden beneath a basket, initials carved into a tree, or a small token left in a familiar spot became profound expressions of affection. These small acts, though modest, carried immense meaning, symbolizing courage, patience, and the enduring power of emotional connection. Love found ways to thrive, even amidst societal pressures and practical limitations. Festivals and communal gatherings continued to provide rare opportunities for public affirmation. Harvest dances, market celebrations, and seasonal events allowed lovers to meet safely, exchanging glances, words, and gestures filled with meaning. These moments reinforced bonds, heightened emotional awareness, and celebrated the courage required to maintain affection in a world governed by expectation. As night fell and lanterns flickered across streets, rooftops, and castle courtyards, hearts reflected on the endurance of devotion. Love, tested by distance, obligation, and constraint, had not faltered. Instead, it had grown stronger, proving the resilience of the human heart. Across villages, towns, and castles, subtle yet enduring gestures of affection continued to shape lives and strengthen bonds. In the stillness of twilight, stars shimmered overhead, and gentle breezes carried whispers of longing and hope. Lovers parted with quiet promises, hearts full of anticipation and devotion. In this medieval world, where rules, expectation, and circumstance often constrained expression, love endured, subtle, resilient, and profound, leaving traces that echo across time, a testament to the timeless pursuit of connection, courage, and heartfelt devotion. As spring deepened and the countryside came alive with the scent of blossoms and the song of birds, hearts that had endured months of longing and challenge now faced new trials. Across villages, towns, and castles, the bonds of love continued to be tested, not only by distance and duty, but by the complexities of human emotion itself. Imagine a young couple standing at the edge of a quiet glade, the sunlight filtering through the leaves above. Their eyes meet with a mixture of joy, anticipation, and uncertainty. Though they have overcome many obstacles, the pressures of society, family, and personal expectation weigh heavily upon them. Every word exchanged carries weight. Every gesture resonates with unspoken meaning, and the space between them is filled with both hope and trepidation. In towns, lovers continued to communicate through subtle and ingenious means. Messages concealed within baskets, notes tucked beneath floorboards, and small tokens left in familiar spots maintained connection despite the ever-watchful eyes of neighbors or elders. Each act of devotion required patience, foresight, and courage, transforming everyday life into a landscape of emotional depth and subtle triumph. The very act of loving became an exercise in strategy, creativity, and resilience. Within castle walls, the dance of courtly love grew ever more intricate. Knights and ladies navigated rules, hierarchy, and expectation, expressing affection through poetry, music, and discreet gestures. A fleeting glance across a crowded hall, a softly spoken word during a dance, or a hidden token passed by a trusted messenger became acts of both courage and devotion. Love, tested against the rigid structures of courtly life, thrived through subtlety, patience, and the quiet bravery of those willing to act on their heart's desire. Separation heightened both longing and appreciation. Absence made every reunion profoundly meaningful. The memory of a touch, a glance, or a whispered phrase sustained hearts across days, weeks, or even months apart. Emotional resilience grew in these intervals, and every small triumph of connection strengthened the bond between hearts. Lovers learned that devotion could flourish even under constraint and uncertainty, revealing the enduring power of emotional endurance. In villages, creativity remained essential. Young women and men continued to employ subtle gestures and hidden messages to maintain connection while respecting social norms. A carved initial, a folded note, or a carefully placed token became symbols of patience, courage, and enduring affection. Even modest actions carried profound emotional weight, demonstrating that love could persist and deepen despite challenges. Festivals and communal gatherings offered brief yet meaningful opportunities for public affirmation. Harvest dances, market celebrations, and seasonal events allowed lovers to meet, share subtle gestures, and express unspoken sentiments. These moments of connection reinforced emotional bonds, heightened joy, and celebrated the courage required to pursue love within a structured society. As evening fell and lanterns cast their gentle glow across streets, paths, and courtyards, hearts reflected on the endurance of devotion. Love, tested by distance, duty, and societal constraint, had not weakened but grown stronger, proving the resilience and persistence of the human spirit. Across villages, towns, and castles, subtle yet powerful acts of affection continued to shape lives, nurture hope, and inspire courage. In the stillness of night, stars twinkled above, and the breeze carried whispers of longing and promise. Lovers parted with silent vows, hearts brimming with anticipation, devotion, and hope. In the medieval world, where expectation, circumstance, and duty often constrained expression, love endured, patient, resilient, and profound, leaving traces that echo across time, a testament to the timeless pursuit of connection, courage, and heartfelt devotion. As the warmth of spring settled over the land, hearts long tested by distance, duty, and expectation now faced moments of profound tension and uncertainty. Across villages, towns, and castles, young lovers found that even the deepest bonds could be challenged by circumstance, emotion, and the pressures of society. Imagine a quiet woodland path where the young couple meets in secret. Sunlight filters through the budding trees, and the gentle rustle of leaves echoes the tremor of anticipation in their hearts. Though they have navigated months of secrecy and subtle communication, the complexities of emotion and the demands of the world weigh heavily. Every word, glance, and gesture carries the intensity of longing, hope, and fear, as each moment together becomes both precious and fleeting. In towns, the art of hidden communication continued to evolve. Lovers relied on subtle notes, coded messages, and carefully placed tokens to express devotion without drawing unwanted attention. A flower pressed into a letter, a ribbon tied to a familiar spot, or a carved emblem left beneath a doorstep spoke volumes. Each act demanded ingenuity, patience, and courage, demonstrating that love could endure even under societal scrutiny and constraint. Within castle walls, the stakes of courtly love grew ever more intricate. Knights and ladies balanced etiquette, hierarchy, and genuine affection, finding moments of connection in subtle gestures and hidden messages. A glance across a hall, a softly spoken word during a dance, or a discreetly delivered poem became acts of bravery and devotion. In this environment, love required both heart and strategy, proving its resilience and depth amidst constraint. Separation intensified longing and emotional growth. Absence made each reunion deeply meaningful. Every shared smile, touch, or whispered word a treasure. The resilience cultivated through periods apart strengthened bonds, proving that devotion could thrive even when circumstances were challenging. Emotional endurance became both a necessity and a source of strength, enabling hearts to persist in love despite trials. In villages, young lovers continued to navigate social expectations with creativity and discretion. Notes hidden beneath baskets, Small tokens left in secret places and carved initials on trees became powerful symbols of courage, hope, and devotion. These modest acts carried profound significance, reinforcing the resilience and ingenuity required to sustain love across time and circumstance. Festivals, markets, and communal gatherings offered rare yet meaningful opportunities for affirmation. Seasonal dances, harvest celebrations, and other events allowed lovers to exchange subtle gestures, words, and glances. These fleeting moments became treasured memories, strengthening emotional bonds, heightening joy, and celebrating the courage required to pursue love in a structured society. As evening descended and lanterns illuminated streets, rooftops, and courtyards, hearts reflected on the enduring power of affection, love, tested by distance, duty, and societal expectation, had grown stronger rather than diminished. Across villages, towns, and castles, subtle acts of devotion shaped lives, nurtured hope, and inspired courage, proving the remarkable resilience of the human heart. In the stillness of night, stars shone above, and gentle winds carried whispers of longing and promise. Lovers parted with silent vows, hearts full of anticipation, devotion, and hope. In this medieval world, where circumstance and expectation often constrained expression, love endured, patient, resilient, and profound, leaving traces across time as a testament to the timeless pursuit of connection, courage, and heartfelt devotion. In the stillness of night, where the stars seemed eternal witnesses to the unspoken promises of countless generations, the story of love in the medieval world unfolded gently, like the turning of worn parchment beneath the careful hand. The lovers who had parted beneath those starlit skies did not simply vanish into silence, for their vows lived on, carried upon the wind, woven into the fabric of memory, and hidden within the rhythm of daily life. Love, though quiet, was never absent, for even in times where duty outweighed desire, where families dictated choices, and where society carved narrow paths for men and women alike, the human heart found ways to bloom, to reach for warmth, to hold fast to hope. The village itself became the keeper of such tales, though rarely were they spoken openly. A look exchanged across a crowded market, a letter slipped into the folds of a cloak, a carved token passed from one hand to another. These small gestures bore more meaning than grand speeches. For in those days, when words could betray as swiftly as they could soothe, it was the silences that carried the truest weight. A maiden at her loom might pause, her thoughts wandering to the face of someone far away, and her fingers, though still weaving, seemed to echo the rhythm of a heart waiting for return. A young man in the fields might lift his gaze from the soil, watching clouds drift slowly past, and wonder if the same sky looked down upon the one he cherished. Time itself conspired both as an ally and an adversary. For the longer two souls were apart, the deeper their longing grew. Yet also, the sharper became the fear that distance might erode remembrance. Still, hope endured. The medieval world, with its rituals and restraints, may have bound bodies, but it could not shackle dreams. To dream was an act of courage, a rebellion against the certainty of arranged matches, alliances, and practical unions. Love that came from the heart alone was fragile, yes, yet in its fragility lay its beauty, like a wildflower growing between stones, unnoticed by most, yet vibrant in its defiance. There were songs sung by wandering minstrels that carried such secret stories, though cloaked in allegory. A knight might be praised for his loyalty to his lady, though the audience could not know if the lady was real or only an echo of yearning. Poems written in candlelight often used symbols of roses, falcons, or distant stars, so that the truth could hide beneath the veil of metaphor. Such art was not only expression, but preservation, the safeguarding of love's memory across years and across hearts. For though castles might fall and kingdoms shift, the verse of a song or the lines of a poem could carry devotion into eternity. In that still night, as the whispers of longing drifted across the fields, love itself seemed almost eternal, neither bound by time nor diminished by distance. The medieval heart, though shaped by duty, still beat with passion, tenderness, and faith. It knew sorrow, yet it also knew joy, fleeting but profound. And so, across centuries, through words, through songs, through stories passed quietly by firelight, love continued, patient, resilient, unbroken. Each vow, each promise, each unspoken glance became a thread in the vast tapestry of human history, binding past to present, reminding us that though centuries change, the heart remains ever the same. Morning came slowly, with mist still clinging to the earth, rolling like a veil across fields, valleys, and rivers. The first sound that stirred the quiet was not the call of men, but the soft bells from a distant chapel, faint and melodic, carried gently over the damp air. Villagers, weary from yesterday's labors, rose in silence, some kneeling by wooden crosses fixed near their beds, whispering prayers for strength, harvest, and protection from unseen trials. Inside stone keeps, the rhythm of the morning was different. Fires were stoked before lords awoke. Servants scurried across drafty halls, and tables were laid with bread, cheese, and watered ale. The noble household stirred more slowly than peasants, yet even there, duty allowed little rest. Stewards accounted for grain, knights checked tack and armor, and scribes sharpened quills to record the day's affairs. The entire castle was alive before the sun broke fully through the fog. Outside the walls, peasants bent once more to endless toil. Some guided oxen to furrowed damp fields, their hands raw from rope and wood, yet they pressed forward, their sweat mixing with the mist. Others tended to sheep, moving them carefully to pasture, where grass glistened with dew. Women carried baskets toward the stream, washing garments in icy water, their laughter muffled but warm, breaking through the heaviness of labor. Every task carried rhythm, repeated through generations, binding past to present. In marketplaces, stalls opened, their wooden shutters creaking. Merchants laid out bolts of cloth, jars of honey, baskets of apples, and small carved trinkets, each item a reflection of a distant trade or local craft. Voices soon filled the air, bargaining tones rising and falling like waves. A coin exchanged, a loaf bartered, a promise made. These simple acts carried the weight of survival. Behind each smile lay a calculation. Behind each trade, a prayer that the coming season would not betray them. Not far beyond, the life of travelers unfolded upon roads of stone and mud. Messengers rode swiftly, cloaks snapping in the breeze, carrying tidings for lords or decrees from kings. Pilgrims trudged with weary feet, some barefoot, clutching staffs, bound for shrines where relics lay enshrined. Wandering minstrels strummed lutes, hoping for coins or a place to rest. Their songs telling tales of love, laws, and valor. Alongside them moved beggars, unseen by many yet persistent, seeking alms from the merciful. The road itself was a stage where countless fates met briefly, then parted again. By noon, warmth pierced the mist, and the landscape unfolded in clearer light. Fields stretched golden and green, dotted with cottages whose smoke curled upward, steady and slow. Children chased one another between hedges, their laughter bright and unbound, a rare freedom in a world heavy with duty. Old men sat outside doorways, whittling wood or recounting stories, their voices carrying lessons as much as memories. Women spun wool upon wheels, their feet tapping in rhythm, while inside kitchens, cauldrons simmered with broth, flavored by herbs gathered at dawn. As shadows shifted, life carried on with its steady, unbroken current. Though the world seemed fixed within strict order, lord and peasant, knight and priest, beneath it all lay a common thread, the desire to endure, to preserve, to belong. Each act, whether humble or noble, was stitched into the fabric of time, creating a tapestry of existence where countless hands, countless hearts, left their quiet mark. And so the medieval day moved forward, simple yet profound, its silence broken only by bells, voices, and the timeless pulse of life itself. Morning light stretched slowly across the village fields, soft beams touching rooftops and winding lanes with a quiet tenderness, as though the earth itself was waking gently from its long slumber. The air was crisp, carrying with it the mingling scents of wood smoke, dew-soaked grass, and the faint sweetness of blossoms hidden within hedgerows. Carts creaked into motion, their wheels rolling steadily over stone paths, guided by farmers and traders whose day would be measured not in hours, but in tasks and labors set by nature's steady rhythm. Within this world of quiet order, where bells rang not just to summon prayer, but to mark the turning of time, love endured in silence, tucked between glances and gestures too small to be noticed by anyone but those who shared them. The blacksmith paused briefly at his forge, wiping sweat from his brow as his gaze drifted toward the baker's daughter, carrying loaves across the square. Their worlds might never fully intertwine, for duty and expectation held sway over youthful longing, yet the spark between them lingered, carrying the unspoken promise of lives imagined but not lived. Travelers, too, passed along the main road, their cloaks worn and boots covered in dust, bringing with them rumors and tales that stretched far beyond the village boundaries. They spoke of distant castles, of feasts where minstrels played and ladies danced beneath banners and torches, of knights who pledged loyalty not only to their lords, but to the ideals of honor, sacrifice, and love. Such stories drifted into the ears of shepherds and seamstresses alike, who, though bound to their simple lives, carried within them dreams that stretched further than their fields. As twilight approached, the world softened once more, shadows lengthening across cottage walls, while the first stars emerged in silence above. Children played with hoops and sticks until their laughter was gathered home by the call of parents, while elders sat upon benches near the square, sharing stories of days long past, their words filled with both wisdom and the gentle weight of memory. The village returned slowly to stillness, as though wrapping itself in a blanket of peace, ready to rest until the next dawn stirred it awake again. In that tender quiet, lanterns glowed faintly in windows, casting golden circles upon the ground, guiding footsteps home. Somewhere a lute hummed faintly, its notes rising like a prayer into the cool air, carrying with them echoes of love's enduring presence, the kind that persists even in silence, waiting patiently across seasons, across years, across lives. And as the night deepened, the village, timeless and steady, held all these stories within its heart, safeguarding them for generations yet to come, as the stars above bore witness to love's gentle, unyielding endurance. The evening sun cast long golden shadows across the village square, painting the cobblestones in hues of amber and rose. In the quiet corners, young couples exchanged glances, filled with both hope and hesitation, aware of the social codes that govern their every action. A soft breeze carried the scent of baked bread from the bakery and fresh hay from nearby fields, mingling with the whispers of lovers wandering carefully through the streets, hearts pounding with secret anticipation. At the edge of the market, a young squire watched as a lady in a modest gown paused beneath the archway of a stone building. He adjusted the strap of his satchel, rehearsing the words he might speak, though he knew the smallest gesture, a nod, a courteous bow, might speak louder than any poem or letter. Across the square, her eyes lifted, and for a fleeting moment they met his. The world seemed to pause, the hum of daily life fading into a silent understanding, a recognition of affection that dared not yet speak its full name. Meanwhile, in the gardens behind the manor, another pair strolled along the shaded path. A knight, in simple yet elegant attire, offered his companion a small bouquet of wildflowers, gathered from the nearby meadow. Her hand trembled slightly as she accepted them, her heart alight with gratitude and excitement, for the act was both intimate and socially permissible, a delicate dance between desire and propriety. They spoke in hushed tones, words carefully chosen, laughter restrained but bright, each step a measured expression of the emotions they were only beginning to reveal. Letters also traveled between secret admirers, sealed with wax and scented with lavender. Parchment unfolded under candlelight revealed lines filled with poetic longing, declarations of admiration, and quiet assurances of devotion. In the dim rooms of the manor, young hands traced the inked words, rereading them until the lines became a lifeline, a connection to a world beyond the restrictions of social expectation. Each phrase, each metaphor, became a tender thread weaving hearts together across distance and circumstance. At twilight, the village square quieted, and lanterns were lit one by one. Shadows danced against stone walls, flickering in rhythm with the hearts of those who dared to love within the constraints of the time. A minstrel's soft melody drifted through the evening air, carrying tales of heroic knights and noble ladies, of devotion unbroken by distance or duty, inspiring those who listened to dream of similar courage and tenderness in their own secret encounters. In the quiet garden, the knight and his companion paused beneath the boughs of a flowering tree. The petals brushed gently against their shoulders as if urging them to speak their feelings aloud. Yet propriety demanded restraint. So they simply stood, close yet measured, allowing the warmth of shared presence to convey what words could not. The evening air shimmered with unspoken affection, a delicate tension that pulsed softly like the beat of a hidden heart. Meanwhile, in a modest cottage, a young woman whispered to her sister about a suitor who had left a small token on her windowsill. An embroidered handkerchief, perfumed lightly, a symbol of attention and care. The sisters exchanged knowing smiles, understanding the language of quiet gestures and the ways in which love could flourish even in the smallest, most overlooked acts. Every glance, every folded note, every carefully considered movement carried weight, building a tapestry of connection that might endure even against the pressures of family, duty, and expectation. As night descended fully, the village settled into its slumber, yet the hearts of lovers beat on, quietly, persistently, in the darkness. Stars peeked through the gaps in the sky, a silver canopy under which promises of affection were nurtured, whispered, and held close. Each secret meeting, each careful letter, each stolen glance was a triumph of the heart, a testament to the resilience of human connection in a world structured by rules and restraint. The wind carried the gentle scent of flowers and earth, mingling with the soft echoes of music and laughter, fading into memory. Lovers retreated to their chambers, hearts brimming with quiet anticipation for the next encounter, the next note, the next glance that would deepen the bond between them. In the shadows and the silence, love endured, patient and resilient, shaping the lives of all who dared to embrace it. The first light of dawn broke gently across the village, softening the edges of thatched roofs and cobblestone paths. In the quiet streets, the subtle stirrings of early risers were accompanied by the hearts of young lovers still dreaming of the night-else encounters. In a small courtyard behind the manor, a young lady stood quietly, a folded note clutched in her hand. Her heart raced with anticipation, for the message was from a suitor whose courage and thoughtfulness had slowly won her admiration. Meanwhile, near the riverbank, a young knight adjusted his cloak as he watched the mist rise from the water. He carried a small bouquet of freshly picked flowers, chosen with care to reflect the colors of her eyes and the subtlety of his feelings. Each step toward the rendezvous point was deliberate, every thought mindful of propriety. Yet beneath the restraint flowed a current of longing that refused to be entirely contained. The anticipation of a shared glance, a whispered word, or even a fleeting touch held the power to make the world shimmer with possibility. Across the village, in a narrow lane lined with wooden fences and climbing vines, another pair exchanged small, carefully chosen tokens. A ribbon, a hand-carved wooden charm, a single feather pressed between pages of a book. Each item carried messages that could not yet be spoken aloud. The social constraints of the era demanded patience and subtlety, but these lovers had learned to speak through gestures, through eyes, and through the delicate rhythm of shared presence. Each step of this hidden dance was a testament to creativity, courage, and devotion. In the evening, the manor's gardens became a secret stage for quiet meetings. Lanterns were lit along winding paths, casting soft glows that painted the faces of young hearts in shades of warmth. A minstrel's distant melody floated on the breeze, weaving stories of heroes and ladies, of brave declarations and tender whispers, inspiring those who wandered the moonlit paths to dream of their own courage and romance. Even in the shadows, each sigh and gentle laugh was a thread in the invisible tapestry of connection, stretching across space and time to unite hearts in ways both profound and fleeting. Back in the village square, merchants closed their stalls, and the hum of daily life softened into evening stillness. Beneath a flowering arbor, two young people paused, each aware of the eyes of others, but lost in the private world they had created. A careful touch of a hand, a shared glance, a soft word was enough to convey the depths of affection, the longing restrained by circumstance, and the joy found in simple proximity. In the quiet cadence of the moment, love unfolded with a delicacy matched only by the gentle turning of the seasons. Letters and small gifts continued to traverse secret paths, passed between friends, delivered under the watchful eyes of neighbors, all performed with the utmost discretion. The words inked on parchment spoke of admiration, of hope, and of a longing that could not yet be fully expressed. Each reading brought a warmth that lingered long after the candle had burned down, an invisible thread that bound the hearts of sender and receiver in silent, steadfast devotion. As night deepened, lanterns cast pools of light along the cobbled streets, revealing fleeting moments of stolen smiles and whispered confessions. Lovers retreated to quiet chambers, hearts buoyed by the promise of future encounters, the thrill of secrecy, and the courage found in patient longing. The village, hushed under the soft glow of stars, seemed to breathe with the shared anticipation, a world alive with subtle connection, gentle yearning, and the enduring magic of love discovered within constraint. And so, beneath the same sky that had witnessed countless centuries of romance, the young hearts of the village moved carefully, tenderly, yet bravely, weaving a story of medieval love that persisted beyond words, beyond sight, and into the quiet embrace of night. The moon rose slowly over the village, casting silver light across the thatched roofs and narrow lanes. In a quiet garden behind the manor, a young couple met beneath the boughs of a flowering tree. The scent of night-blooming flowers mingled with the gentle rustle of leaves, creating a soft, fragrant canopy under which hearts could speak in ways words often could not. They exchanged glances that conveyed the depth of feeling held back during the day, the longing that only the night could safely harbor. A gentle breeze carried the distant sound of a lute from a nearby tavern, its melody winding through the streets like a whispered promise. The knight reached out, hesitated, then lightly brushed a strand of hair from the lady's face. Her eyes reflected both surprise and quiet joy, a tender acknowledgement of shared affection that could not yet be claimed openly. Each subtle gesture was laden with meaning, a silent conversation performed with precision and care as the codes of society demanded patience and discretion. Elsewhere in the village, another pair strolled along the riverbank, their shadows elongated by lantern light. The young man carried a small, intricately carved wooden bird, a token of devotion meant to symbolize freedom within the bounds of restraint. She received it with a shy smile, understanding its significance instantly. In a world of careful observation and strict rules, such small gifts were potent declarations of the heart, capable of conveying passion, respect, and enduring commitment all at once. Letters continued to flow, secreted in the folds of books or hidden beneath stones along the paths where lovers met. Wax seals and fragrant oils marked each message as special, a sign of devotion both delicate and enduring. By candlelight, recipients traced the words with fingertips, savoring the poetic expressions of admiration, longing, and hope. In these quiet moments, the barriers of distance, expectation, and circumstance seemed to dissolve, leaving only the soft glow of connection and understanding between hearts. As the night deepened, lanterns in the square flickered against the gentle wind, casting warm light on faces that dared to steal moments of joy. A minstrel's soft tune carried on the air, narrating tales of valor, steadfast devotion, and the triumph of careful patience. Those listening in the shadows felt their own emotions mirrored in the melodies, and even within the constraints of social expectation, dreams of love and courage were nurtured, carried from one heart to another like a secret shared in the hush of night. Back in the manor gardens, the knight and his companion paused beneath a low-hanging branch, petals brushing against their shoulders as if to urge them onward.
Words were few, but the warmth of presence spoke volumes.
A gentle squeeze of a hand, a quiet glance, and a shared smile conveyed sentiments that society might not yet permit aloud. The world around them fell away, leaving only the rhythm of two hearts aligned in mutual understanding, bound by respect, longing, and the thrill of what might yet come. Across the village, young couples retreated slowly to their homes, hearts alight with anticipation for future meetings. Even in the hush of night, love persisted quietly, resiliently, finding ways to bloom amidst rules, expectations, and duties. Each stolen glance, whispered word, and carefully chosen gesture added another thread to the tapestry of medieval romance, a story woven in patience, courage, and enduring hope. As the moon climbed higher, bathing the village in silver light, lovers took their last steps through the garden paths and hidden lanes, savoring the intimacy of moments shared, the gentle tension of what remained unspoken, and the enduring promise of connection. And so, in the quiet embrace of night, the village breathed softly with love that was patient, resilient, and eternal. Dawn broke slowly over the village, spilling gentle light across cobblestones and the soft roofs of cottages. In the shadowed corners of the marketplace, young hearts stirred with hope and anticipation. A squire waited quietly near the fountain, his hands clasped over a small folded note, the wax seal still warm from the candlelight that had secured it. He glanced repeatedly toward the narrow lane where she was to appear, heart fluttering with the thrill of both secrecy and expectation. At the manor gardens, a lady wandered among the flowering hedges, her eyes searching for a familiar figure. In her hand, she held a tiny token, a sprig of rosemary tied with a ribbon, its fragrance lingering with gentle memories. It was a symbol of remembrance, devotion, and silent communication, a gift that spoke volumes in a world where words were often constrained by etiquette. Each heartbeat carried a story of courage, desire, and the delicate art of expressing love within boundaries. Elsewhere, a minstrel's soft tune floated through the village square, telling tales of knights and ladies, of brave declarations made beneath moonlit skies, of hearts entwined through gestures, letters, and glances. The music drifted over rooftops, threading itself into the quiet lives of those who had yet to confess their own affections. For every pair who listened, the melody became a reminder of patience, of courage, and of the tender victories that could unfold quietly over time. In a secluded courtyard, a young couple met beneath the gentle shade of a flowering tree. The knight, careful to respect the boundaries of propriety, offered a soft, reassuring smile as he handed her a small bunch of freshly picked blooms. She accepted with a shy grace, her heart swelling with gratitude and delight. Words were few, but each glance, each subtle movement, communicated what society might not yet allow to be spoken openly. Their connection, delicate yet profound, thrived in these silent exchanges, strengthened by patience and respect. Letters and tokens continued to traverse hidden paths between households. Small pieces of parchment, sealed with wax and faintly scented with lavender, carried the affections of hearts separated by distance, duty, or circumstance. In the quiet of their chambers, recipients would trace each carefully inked word, feeling the pulse of another soul across space and time. Each note, each carefully chosen phrase was a quiet triumph of connection, courage, and enduring hope. The village streets gradually emptied as night approached, lanterns casting pools of soft light upon cobblestones. Young lovers lingered in the shadows, savoring brief moments of intimacy. A whispered word, a shared smile, the warmth of a hand held for only an instant. Even in constraint, love thrived, resilient and patient, finding subtle channels through which it could flourish. The delicate tension of secrecy heightened each moment, transforming ordinary nights into memories treasured in the hearts of those who dared to embrace affection. In the manor gardens, the knight and his companion finally parted, their footsteps slow, reluctant, echoing the rhythm of hearts still intertwined. A final glance spoke of devotion, hope, and the quiet courage required to love within the strictures of society. Above, stars shimmered as silent witnesses to their affection, and the moon lent its gentle light to guide them safely home, promising that their bond would endure through days, nights, letters, and whispers alike. And as the village settled into the hush of night, hearts continued to beat with gentle excitement, anticipation, and the enduring promise of love expressed patiently, subtly, and profoundly. Each fleeting moment, each silent gesture, wove the invisible threads of connection that defined the very essence of medieval romance, resilient and eternal. Twilight descended slowly over the village, painting the sky in soft shades of purple and gold. In the quiet gardens of the manor, lovers moved through the shaded paths, careful to avoid prying eyes, yet intoxicated by the thrill of secret meetings. Each step along the cobblestones, each pause beneath a flowering arbor, carried the weight of unspoken emotions, of hearts daring to connect in a world bound by rules and tradition. A young knight waited beneath the branches of a willow, holding a single rose with trembling fingers. The lady approached, her eyes bright with anticipation, and for a moment the world seemed to pause. They exchanged words softly, careful not to disturb the tranquility of the evening, yet every syllable was laden with meaning, each glance an affirmation of the bond slowly growing between them. The moonlight caressed the petals of the rose, and in that glow their hearts spoke a language known only to those who had learned to love in silence. Meanwhile, across the village square, another pair shared a quiet bench near the fountain. A small gift, a hand-embroidered handkerchief, passed from one to the other, a token of care and devotion. The recipient's fingers lingered on the delicate stitching, feeling the thought and effort imbued in every stitch. Words were unnecessary. The gift itself was an intimate confession, a promise that even amidst constraint, affection could flourish in subtle, powerful ways. Letters continued their secret journey between households, hidden under roof tiles, slipped beneath doorways, or carried by trusted friends. Each parchment bore careful handwriting, wax seals, and the faint scent of lavender or rose. Recipients would hold them close, tracing the letters with fingertips as though feeling the presence of the sender. Each phrase, each declaration, however delicate or coded, was a thread in the invisible tapestry of romance, binding hearts across distance, expectation, and duty. The village itself seemed to pulse with quiet life, alive in shadows and silence. Lanterns flickered along narrow lanes, casting dancing patterns that mirrored the rhythm of hearts entwined in secret. A distant lute played soft melodies that spoke of knight's bravery, lady's grace, and the enduring power of patient love. These tunes, carried on the breeze, were both inspiration and solace for those whose affection could not yet be spoken openly, yet persisted nonetheless. In a secluded corner of the manor's garden, the young knight and lady lingered longer than intended. Each fleeting touch, each careful smile, was charged with meaning. The night air, scented with jasmine and freshly turned earth, wrapped around them as if protecting their secret. Moments stretched, measured not in minutes, but in heartbeats, each one a silent celebration of courage, hope, and the tender vulnerability that comes from daring to love despite the constraints of society. As the night deepened, lovers began to retreat to their homes, hearts alight with anticipation for future meetings. Shadows lengthened, lanterns glimmered, and the gentle murmur of the river provided a lullaby for those still awake with longing. Even in separation, the invisible threads of connection held strong, promising that affection nurtured with patience and care would endure beyond a single night, beyond words, beyond even sight. And so, under the silvered gaze of the moon, the village slept, while hearts continued their quiet conversations. Letters awaited their readers, and secret gifts carried the enduring whispers of love. In this medieval world, affection thrived not through haste or declaration, but through patience, courage, and the delicate, enduring art of romantic connection. The night deepened over the village, a velvet canopy sprinkled with countless stars. In the quiet corners, lovers moved with gentle caution, aware of the world around them, yet fully absorbed in the delicate intimacy of their secret meetings. Beneath the archways of the manor, a young knight awaited his companion, a small token of wildflowers clasped in his hand. Each flower had been chosen with care, its color and form speaking silently of admiration, respect, and hope. The lady approached along the dimly lit path, her steps measured yet eager, her eyes bright with anticipation. They exchanged glances, smiles, and the softest of words, careful not to disturb the night's stillness. Every motion, every subtle gesture conveyed emotions that society often forbade to be spoken aloud. In this shared silence, hearts communicated more eloquently than any speech could, and the gentle rhythm of their breathing became a language of its own, a secret dialogue between souls attuned to one another. Elsewhere in the village, under the soft glow of lanterns, another young couple lingered along the riverbank. The young man pressed a small letter into his companion's hands, the wax seal faintly fragrant with lavender. She unfolded it carefully, reading each word with tender reverence. The lines spoke of longing, devotion, and admiration. Each carefully crafted phrase a bridge across distance, a testament to courage in the face of social expectation. As her eyes traced the ink, a warmth spread through her chest, and she pressed the note gently to her heart, feeling his presence even as he stood a few steps away. The village itself seemed to participate in the quiet drama of romance. Lanterns flickered along narrow lanes. The rustle of leaves whispered in gentle cadence, and the faint melody of a distant lute carried tales of valor, longing, and steadfast love. Each sound, each shadow, each glimmer of candlelight reflected the tender tension between propriety and desire, between patience and the impulse to confess what the heart could not contain. In a secluded garden, the knight and his lady lingered beneath a canopy of flowering branches. The night air was fragrant, the stars above a quiet witness to the unfolding story of their affection. Fingers brushed lightly, eyes met in shared understanding, and a soft laugh escaped, delicate and fleeting, like a secret carried on the wind. In these moments, love thrived not through haste or bold declaration, but through patience, courage, and the subtle art of expressing devotion within the delicate boundaries of medieval etiquette. Letters, gifts, and whispered words continued to weave their invisible threads through the village, binding hearts in quiet resilience. Each meeting, each glance, each carefully chosen phrase was a triumph of intimacy and courage, a story of connection maintained in shadows and secrecy. And though the night would eventually end, the bonds forged in these stolen moments endured, carrying the promise of tomorrow, of future encounters, and of love that persisted despite distance, expectation, and circumstance. As the village slowly settled into the hush of midnight, hearts continued to beat with anticipation and gentle longing. The river murmured its lullaby, the trees swayed softly in rhythm with the breeze, and the moon cast silver light over the secret paths of affection. Love, patient and enduring, moved quietly through the village, invisible yet palpable, a testament to the timeless art of medieval romance. The village lay in hushed stillness, bathed in the soft glow of a silver moon. Lanterns flickered gently along the cobblestone streets, and the distant murmur of the river whispered like a lullaby. In the quiet corners and hidden gardens, hearts that had dared to love under constraint now rested, fulfilled in the knowledge that their bonds, tender and resilient, had endured. The young knight and his lady walked slowly through the manor gardens one last time that night, hands brushing lightly, eyes meeting in a silent understanding. Their journey had been measured with patience, courage, and subtle gestures, and now a sense of calm, of quiet satisfaction, filled the spaces between them. Letters, tokens, and whispered words had all played their part, weaving invisible threads across distance, time, and expectation. A simple rose, a hand-carved charm, a note scented with lavender, all had carried the weight of devotion and hope. The lovers had learned that true connection did not need grand declarations or open displays. It thrived in the hush of evening, in the careful cadence of glances, in the tender rhythm of hearts beating in quiet unison. As they paused beneath a flowering arbor, petals brushing gently against their shoulders, a deep sigh escaped them both, unspoken yet fully understood. In the serene stillness, every lesson of patience, every trial of waiting, and every risk taken for the sake of love coalesced into a profound sense of fulfillment. They stood for a long moment, savoring the quiet magic of what they had built together, a tapestry of affection that was both delicate and enduring, fragile yet steadfast, a testament to the timeless art of medieval romance. Elsewhere, the village slept, every home enveloped in calm. The echoes of laughter, conversation, and music now softened into memory. Lovers who had met in secret rooms and shadowed lanes now rested in their beds, hearts light and minds at peace, knowing that love, nurtured with care and courage, would continue to bloom with each passing day. Even the smallest gestures, an exchanged ribbon, a hidden note, a careful glance, had carried the power to transform ordinary nights into lifelong memories. The moon climbed higher, casting silver light across the sleeping village. From above, it seemed as if even the stars paused to honor the tender bonds forged beneath their gaze. The knight and lady exchanged one last look before parting for the night, a look that spoke of devotion, hope, and unspoken promises. Their hearts, aligned in quiet harmony, mirrored the gentle rhythm of the village itself, a world alive with subtle romance, patience, and enduring affection. Now, dear listener, take a deep, slow breath. 0, 0, and let the gentle pulse of these medieval hearts carry you into your own peaceful slumber. Imagine the cobblestone streets, the flowering gardens, the flickering lanterns, and the quiet courage of love expressed with patience and tenderness. Let your mind rest among these stories, knowing that love, in all its forms, thrives quietly, resiliently, and beautifully. And as you drift softly into sleep, remember, cherish patience, savor subtlety, and treasure every gentle moment of connection. Good night, dear listener, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and share so that the stories of courage, romance, and timeless devotion may continue to reach hearts like yours.